Welcome to the Downtime from WTWH Media with your hosts, Sarah Wynn and Sheri Kasprzak, bringing you everything you need to know from the week in manufacturing.
And we are back for another episode of the Downtime. I'm Sarah Wynn with
Sheri Kasprzak, thank you so much for joining us on your downtime. We appreciate you as always.
no downtime like this downtime, Sheri. I'll just say that. This is the one you want,
It's the only one you want.
the only one you need. So, Sheri, we have a pretty packed episode today. We're going to be talking digital transformation. Do you want to set the table?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a great conversation with a company that I found so fascinating, Webster Industries. This is a 150-year-old company, and the thing that blew my mind is Mark Twain, yes, that Mark Twain was an early investor in the company. It blows my mind. One thing that I love about this company is that they are 150 years old and they're just starting their digital transformation process, which I think is just so fascinating that a company with that much history is going to the cloud and automating processes and figuring out how to move their manufacturing business into the 21st century. So it's such a great story. So yeah, we had a great conversation with Deb Anderson. She's the CIO. We really had a great conversation with Deb. What was your favorite part of that conversation, Sarah?
Well, in addition to Webster being an Ohio based company, which of course I loved, and Deb went to the Ohio State University, much like myself, I really enjoyed how Deb kind of chronicled their journey to this cloud environment. She mentioned that they used to have stacks of invoices, filing cabinets filled with paper. All of that is gone. It's in the cloud and it's accessible to not only their business in Ohio, but their new acquisitions that they've acquired in Oregon and in Michigan. So, Sheri, that was a big takeaway for me. The more we go into 2025 and beyond, so many items that we once were staples for us, like a pen and paper, are becoming a little bit obsolete now living in the cloud. So I enjoyed that. I did also enjoy Deb mentioning, like I said, the acquisitions and getting those new companies that they've acquired up to speed with the Epicor system. What do you think?
Absolutely. And just the range of, you know, diversity in their organization and having to train people who may be, right out of high school all the way to people who are, getting close to retirement. That just seemed like such a great thing to highlight, is that these are processes that you can learn, and it doesn't matter if you're at the beginning of your career or at the end. You can learn how to streamline things and automate processes. So I really loved that takeaway.
Yeah, definitely. And Deb mentioned, we have teenagers all the way to employees in their 70s. So that is a good highlight that she brings up. She explains well how their company continues to tackle digital transformation. It's evolving. It's what they have today may change tomorrow. She also provided kind of a window for Sheri and I. These system upgrades before they had this Epicor system, they'd start on a Friday, they would finish maybe on Sunday. Now their system upgrades take 1 to 2 people and they take 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, why don't we take a listen to our great interview that we had with Deb? Thank you so much, Deb. We have Deb Anderson here. She is the CIO of Webster Industries. Thank you so much for joining us on the downtime. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about the history of Webster Industries?
Yes, sure. Webster Industries has been around since 1876. We are headquartered in Tiffin, Ohio, and we are an innovative leader in the design, manufacture, and distribution of engineered conveying, feeding, processing equipment, screening solutions. We make a variety of products, including engineered class chain, sprockets, vibrating equipment, and levelers.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the fact that the company is 150 years old is really interesting to me. And I understand the company recently started its cloud deployment and digital transformation efforts. Can you share a little bit about, with us about what that looks like at Webster?
Well, when we started with our ERP system with Epicor back in 2017, we were on premise. And at the time, that made a lot of sense for us. We had limited ability to get reliable internet, and we had a location in Mississippi that really had a struggle there. So it gave us an opportunity to get on the system, get things rolling. And then as we've grown our company, and we started doing acquisitions and you know technology has evolved, it made a lot of sense for us to consider moving to the cloud. So we decided to go ahead and take that plunge a year or so ago, and it has been very successful for us. It has allowed us to deploy much quicker when we bring on new acquisitions, and it actually has also saved us a lot of time and money.
Absolutely. Um, Sarah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, what any other things to add? What inspired really the move towards digital transformation? I know you mentioned some of your facilities it was harder to do. How were you able to accomplish it?
Well, actually, because we started back in 2017, fast forward several years, there's a lot more opportunities for us to use a cloud-based system. Whereas prior to that, it wasn't as reliable. So we had a point-to-point system from our different locations. So with better reliability, better opportunities to have not just one internet provider, but two, so you have an automatic failover, it became an easier transition for us because with our ERP system, we want 100% uptime.
Mhm.
And that was very important. And we could control that better when we had our own, when we had the servers on premise. But as time has evolved in the last 7, 8 years, it has become much easier and much more affordable to allow us to make that move to the cloud. That's just one piece of our digital transformation. And obviously, we've used Epicor to do several other things to become less paper oriented and have everything in a digital manner.
Absolutely. What sort of processes have you automated so far through the ERP?
Well, we have automated our EDI process. That is completely automated. We have automated our accounts payable. That was something I think we've completed within the last year or two. So all of our invoices used to be stored in, large amounts of filing cabinets on people's desks that, trying to find anything was always a nightmare. So that is all digital now. We don't save anything in terms of paper, and you can just bring anything up that you want, and you have instant access. We no longer keep any purchase orders that our customers send us in a paper format. Everything that we get in from our customers is digitized, and we are able to attach that to either the customer itself, an order, a quote, so that when we are looking for something, all the data is absolutely available to us just with a click of the button.
Great. Are there any things you're looking to automate in the near future? Are there other processes that you really see value in automating and getting through the ERP?
We do not have complete automation at all of our locations because we just had an acquisition. So obviously, we're going to be bringing them on board little by little. The one that we just brought up in March has maybe 20% of this stuff automated. So we're going to have to bring all that up to speed. We want all of our locations to be fully automated and digitized when possible. So we have a lot of area to go there. Some things that we are still working on is the automation of some of our shop paperwork. Some of that is tied to the old dogs and new tricks, and there's just a lot more comfort level when they can have a piece of paper in their hand. So little by little, we're trying to transform the factory floor so that they are more inclined to use the digital version of a drawing or the digital version of their paper travelers. Right now, we are in a situation where they can use either. So little by little, we're pushing towards completely digitizing that as well.
I know.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's probably like some lead time for training for the system. So absolutely.
Right. And you know, when your workforce is diverse and you have anyone from 16 to in their 70s, it is a process.
Of course.
That's a good way to describe it. And Deb, I know you have Webster's acquired companies in Oregon and in Michigan. Is this acquisition you mentioned in March, is that an addition to those?
That is the one in Michigan.
Okay.
Yes, that we just brought live in March.
Yeah. Oh, so how is, just to touch a little bit on it, how is that process going, getting them up into the cloud space? Were they using something before similar, or is this all brand new?
They were using something that was a homegrown, handwritten piece of software that they kind of thought was an ERP system, but really wasn't. It was just something that someone wrote to help them handle their process and their paperwork. So it has been quite a transformation. Being on the cloud, though, has made things a lot easier for us because well, I can spin up a new company in a matter of 1 or 2 days and have that site ready to go. It's a matter of sending all the users a URL and they are in a test environment. So that used to take us a few weeks to do that when we were on premise and we had that system. So moving to the cloud has made things a lot easier. It also makes it a lot easier for someone who is new, like as we're implementing or doing training with our new users or new sites. Those are things that they can do at home in the evenings after they've gone home, had dinner with their family, taken care of the kids and all that. Then they get online and they can do their online training. They can maybe get into the system and do some practicing. And it makes things a lot easier to kind of have that work-life balance when you're going through an implementation.
Yeah, I'd imagine acquiring these businesses in other states, having the cloud makes it a lot easier to integrate everyone together.
Yes, it definitely does. I mean, the main thing that instead of setting them up with their own whole system, all we really need to do is make sure we get a secure connection for them, um, and that they can safely access the cloud version of our product.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Are there certain processes that you found that are difficult to automate in some way? Are there things that you've kind of put off a little bit because maybe it's not as, I guess, intuitive to automate that process?
In terms of moving to the cloud,
Yeah. Mhm.
yes. So I think the biggest change for us is that when you're on the cloud platform, Epicor and other vendors too that do this process, they automate upgrades. So you're getting upgrades very frequently. And when you are on an on-premise situation, you control when those happen. And there's usually two major upgrades a year and then several minor ones. So we always tried to stay fairly current, but we would plan around those. So if we had something big on in the company that, we knew it was, a particular grain season or some season that we're going to just be hit hard, we may postpone that upgrade, for a few months. Well, now that we're on the cloud, we're getting updates almost weekly. And those are the minor upgrades that shouldn't really affect any processes or productivity. And then the twice annual major upgrades, we still like to test all that prior to the upgrade happening to make sure anything that we have changed or modified is still working as it should. So that has been just a more of a change for us and adjusting our processes. Now, fortunately, Epicor gives us a chance to pause. So they may say that the major upgrade is going to be one particular weekend, and you can pause that and push that out like I think it's a couple of months. And we typically try not to do that. But just learning how to adjust to that cadence, knowing, oh, when we go in on Monday, a minor upgrade was happened. And if suddenly a bunch of things aren't working, we can maybe go back and look and say, hey, that may have been caused by that upgrade. Typically, we've had no problems, especially on the minor ones. And again, we test on the major ones, but that's a major change to the way we're used to doing things.
Absolutely.
So Deb, do you have any advice for companies looking to start a digital transformation within their own facility, or in terms of moving to the cloud instead of physical paper?
Certainly, moving to the cloud when you're on premise can be a little bit frightening. I know our software vendor, Epicor, they did a great job. They totally helped us through the entire process. We did the migration 2 or 3 times in preparation for actually doing the real migration. So we used that to make sure everything was going to work. We did a lot of testing, but overall, I would highly recommend making that change because it has saved us a significant amount of time and money. We no longer have to monitor a whole room full of servers to make sure that performance is sufficient for all of our users. Epicor is doing that for us. We no longer have to maintain our SQL server to make sure that the databases are being cleaned up, backed up, and all those things. So that's taken a big load off of us. It also helps with your disaster recovery processes. It's one less thing that we're responsible for, maintaining all those backups and things. So it's cut down on the amount of hardware we're going to buy year over year over year because we were constantly upgrading our large amount of servers. And we still have we're always going to have some in-house servers. But with our Epicor software, we had an entire stack of servers for the live environment and then another entire stack of servers for the test environments. So our go forward spend on capital equipment for servers is drastically decreased. Our go forward spend on offsite backups, on-site backups, and actual just time, all of our time that we have into this with all the different people on our staff is now able to be spent on things that can help us as a company fast forward on digital transformation and fast forward on new modules and things that are going to make us better instead of the day-to-day just making sure everything's working and that type of thing. So, and just like our upgrades, we save, we used to spend our entire IT department would spend from Friday afternoon until Sunday working on an upgrade. Now it's about 2 hours for 1 or 2 people when we do a major upgrade. So it's a major transformation. Maybe the cost is a little bit more when you're moving from a maintenance plan to the subscription, but when you take off all the savings that you're going to get, and it ends up actually being a cheaper. It's much less expensive than it is when you're paying for it when you're on premise.
Excellent. Amazing. Thank you so much, Deb. We really appreciated having you on the downtime. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today.
Well, thank you, and it was nice meeting both of you.
Likewise.
Always a pleasure to meet another Buckeye, Deb. Thank you so much.
Yep, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Awesome.
And thank you to Deb and the Webster team for speaking with us on the downtime. Deb, always a pleasure to speak with another Buckeye. Sheri?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Deb. Always great chatting with anyone about digital transformation, but this 150-year-old company, absolutely, it was a pleasure.
Yes. And we have a story on packagingoem.com about Antares Vision Group's AI Go. It's an artificial intelligence-driven visual inspection platform, and it can be integrated into new packaging equipment or retrofitted onto existing lines. This is a solution for companies looking to increase inspection accuracy while reducing downtime, always back to downtime, and false rejects. It's made in collaboration with Orobix, which is another Antares company. So AI Go can detect chromatic impurities, glass fragments, cosmetic defects, and/or foreign bodies. So this overall increases the production quality. For packaging OEMs specifically, For those that are designing or configuring machines in various packaging environments, AI Go offers trainable visual inspection that doesn't require a deep knowledge of artificial intelligence. So the other thing to note, Sheri, is that Antares is working on natural language instructions to make inspection systems even more intuitive for operators. So this feature, which they're still working on, could simplify training and reduce changeover complexity within the system. So it's available on packagingoem.com. We've shared it on social media too. Antares Vision Group's AI Go, and can be used in a variety of settings, and specifically in packaging. Big takeaway, doesn't matter if it's a new system, doesn't matter if it's an old system, it can work regardless.
That's really cool. I love that this sort of model can be trained and like it learns as you keep feeding it data. That's a really cool process. I love how AI works in that way that, you know, the more you work with it, the smarter it becomes. But I think it's only as good as the data you feed it, right?
Right. And so in packaging, it could be label inspection, defect detection, cosmetic impurities. Yeah, it's a great tool to, you know, join. And we had another story from that Packaging OEM shared earlier this year about Antares Vision Group's digitalization software. They're both available on packagingoem.com. Sheri, you know we love to talk Packaging OEM.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure. So that's Sarah Wynn signing out for Packaging OEM for digital transformation for this episode.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah. We always love hearing about AI and its uses across multiple uses. So we really appreciate that. You know, over at Plant Engineering and Control Engineering, digital transformation is a huge part of our coverage. And, you know, we talk a lot about AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality. You know, it's not just for video game geeks anymore, Sarah. I don't know if you know this, but in the gaming world, they're everywhere, VR headsets. You know, when it comes to things like designing, prototype, training, conducting maintenance, AR and VR, these are the wave of the future for digital transformation for a lot of manufacturers. When it comes to training, you know, new hires can learn how to operate complex systems in a low risk, safe environment. A lot of companies, a lot of manufacturers are using things like immersive VR to train their employees. So, you know, once they get up to speed on it, they know what to do. Now, once those workers have been trained, augmented reality is a great tool to be used for things like predictive and preventive maintenance. You know, you can overlay digital information onto your physical component and run inspections so that problems can be identified before they really spiral out of control. You can replace things. You can make sure that your systems are running properly. So I love that use for it as well. And even though you want this downtime, you don't want any other kind of downtime, but AR is enabling maintenance and remote assistance so that you can minimize downtime in your manufacturing plant. So we love to talk about AR VR. I think it's such a cool concept that so many companies are integrating, you know, these sort of immersive, you know, virtual and augmented reality into their training, their maintenance programs, and I think that that's going to be the wave of the future for us. So I can't wait to learn more about AR, VR. And if you're using AR and VR in your manufacturing plant, you know, let us know. Contact us. We always love, you know, hosting interviews. We love to chat with you about what's going on in your plant. And since I have you, if you haven't done so already, I'm going to go in my spiel. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us over at SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube. Check us out at packagingoem.com, plantengineering.com, or controleng.com. We are everywhere. Go follow us.
7 different places to follow.
Don't forget our Instagram as well. We have a lot of great videos, fun stuff there. We're always posting memes and fun videos. If we're at a live event, you're going to catch a lot of content over on our Instagram, the.downtime over on Instagram. So go follow us.
At the.downtime. Sheri, I just want to jump into the AR VR combo.
Sure.
What do you think if we were onboarded with AR VR?
Wow.
Imagine the LinkedIn stage.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I've put on the VR headset before, and I don't know that it's for me. I don't know because I am plagued with vertigo and motion sickness. And the last time I had a VR headset on, it did not go well. I got incredibly dizzy. I'm sure it's great for some people, not for me. How about you? Would you go through VR training?
I'd love to. I don't have very good balance. You're talking to the girl who broke her foot while tweeting and walking at the same time. So the VR headset sounds great in theory. I'd probably have to stay like on the couch.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that. I once broke two of my fingers while bicycling. Don't. It's a long
Do we
story.
want to know?
I crashed into a building and I snapped two of my fingers. No, we are not very coordinated people on the downtime.
So maybe AR VR might not be for us, Sherry, but
I don't think it's safe for either of us. I think that society as a whole would be better off if we didn't attempt AR or VR. VR in particular, I don't know.
yeah. Well, we can leave it to the companies that are deploying these solutions. And if you are, contact Sherry or I at LinkedIn. My email's on Packaging OEM's website. Email me. So we would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always looking for new conversations and AR VR, I think we're just at the beginning of all of the, applications that we're going to see in manufacturing.
Yeah. So, Sherry, it sounds like we've come to the end of another episode of The Downtime.
It sounds that way. It always goes by too fast.
Remember, the only downtime that you need in your life is this podcast. At The Downtime on Instagram, at The Downtime on LinkedIn. Follow Sherry, follow myself. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And as always, thank you so much for sharing your downtime with us, and we will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.